Okay, here we have a Luton Bowman PW203. This one should be just about ready to go. Fantastic engines these. Seem to be very popular at the moment. And it's the first time, like a lot of engines at the moment, I've steamed this one in probably over a year. So it's just nice to have an excuse to get this one going again. Excellent engines these are, very well built, extremely well engineered, and extremely collectible engines. 203 is the sort of top of the range. I'm not saying that 204, which reputedly does exist, isn't, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to say the 203 is. And as you can see, it's literally just started, and it's right into its stride. It's got a very useful oiler on it, which not only lubricates the faces, but also ensures that some of the oil is actually taken into the actual cylinder itself, and this in turn is helped by the aid of a rather useful felt stuffing sort of washer at the end of the cylinder, the piston arm, to make sure it stays well lubricated. You can see it's starting to dance around the table, so what I will do is I'll put a little bit of prime there, put that on it. That should stop it. I'm just bringing it around a little bit now. And as I say, extremely good engines. Nice and powerful, a classic period in British toy steam manufacture, and undeniably worth getting one if you can get your hands on one. They can be had relatively cheaply, depending on the condition obviously, but they have been sort of steadily becoming more popular with the collectors, certainly over the last few years. And as you see now, this one's well into its stride, and it's producing a very smooth, high revving engine. You can see behind also I have the sort of harder to get hold of 202 overtype, and its brother, which is the 201, which is just the normal base mounted engine on it. So you can probably hear this one whizzing away in the background. Extremely smooth engine. That's my whistle arm, which tends to fall off. It's popped inside the engine unit, or the firebox, so at least I know it's safe. And as you can see, it produces a lovely sort of plume of steam. Just pop around to this side, and you can just see it just purring away. Oozes quality. It has got a small regulator, which I'm going to have to move with a cloth. Just bear with me. It just gives you a degree of speed control. You can see it's got a big lamp, relatively big boiler. So you can get 25-30 minute runs out of this if you sort of throttle it right back, maybe a lot longer. The lamp on this one is the twin sort of arm, twin boomed reservoir type, that has like cross slits across, I suppose, one big longitudinal slit on each of the two burner tubes. Produces a lot of heat. It's very efficient. They're a bit difficult to actually light, but once they're lit, they seem to burn the meths a lot better. They certainly protect the wick a lot more, and they produce a very sort of hot, concentrated flame source, which keeps plenty of steam going. They're very similar to the Latimer plain L5's lamp. In some respects, you could get away with one of the arms on these, and it would still do the job. So you can see, using the throttle control, you can get a reasonable degree of control over it. Because it's such a well engineered little unit, it will just tick over very slowly. quite a large oscillating cylinder, certainly bigger than the 202, the 201 behind, and bigger than the comparative Mammold ones at the time. And you can really hear it opening up now. I do love these engines. They really are extremely photogenic and extremely well made. I know maybe some purists think that the only Bowmans are the Derham Bowmans. I mean, these are to be collected in their own right. They really are extremely collectible these days, and don't hesitate if you can get one relatively cheaply to buy one. You won't be disappointed. They cut very much a very individual dash with the BM letters on the firebox, the pale green base plates, and you know, they do look individualistic, as all the engines did at that time. They were all looking to be slightly different. Although I'm saying that this particular engine, the 203, has some some similarities to the Latimer L5. Although they look entirely different. I mean, the L5's got a raised base, darker green, slightly different shaped flywheel. There are certain similarities with the positioning of the oiler, the shape of the engine frame, and so on. Again, that's another very collectible engine, which may be steamed in the not too distant future. But anyways, you can see this one, it's producing a fantastic head of steam. You can see a lot of steam coming from the piston, but also there's a goodly amount actually coming out of the chimney as well. Head on. This one on the firebox has this curious sort of textured finish paint. I think they could be had with a sort of smooth paint as well. Some even were made with I think aluminium, because piece parts and assembly to actually manufacture these, I think, were making aircraft parts during the war, so perhaps they had quite a large stockpile of aluminium at the end of the war, which they had to use for something. These straps can sometimes be the screw-in type ones, like you see behind on the 202, or they can be this sort of latch arrangement where it's just tabbed in underneath. But it does hold very, very well indeed. And this one, as I say, is entirely unrestored, entirely original condition, and the boiler has a very well darkened layer of lacquer on there now, which gives it quite an almost sort of dark, sort of Fleischmann nickel effect colour to it. You can see some oil mixing in with the water on the base plate there, which goes to show that the oiler is actually doing its job. And I'd say only a few other engines have that particular feature. It works extremely well. The base is drilled from Meccano and has the characteristic half-inch space holes. There, have him slowed right down. It's quite a nice chuffing sound. I'll just speed him up a little bit again now. Nice solid flywheel on these from one turn piece of brass, attractively painted red. It's got a curious sort of hole drilled in on the other side to sort of counterbalance the flywheel or the crank to a certain degree. And it is a very, very smooth running unit. These reservoirs can sometimes, this is the rounded type, or they can be the more squarer solder type, which you can also find on these engines. This one has the one slit on there, whereas this particular